Welcome to ohmTown Daily, Season 2, Episode 230 for August 18th, 2023. Tonight we discuss cheesy chips to catch counterfeits. Marvel's Secret is the worst lingerie store in the mall. Pay-to-play Reddit app. Electricity prices climb like the temperature. Baldur's Gate 3 is amazing, so now it's collectible. Sued for tactic to sell cheaper airfares. Newest sentence starts with TikTok Pickle sweatshirt. Climate change embodied in California. ZeroSpace looks like this generation Starcraft. Twitch to let streamers ban watching. Selling fake chocolate bars. ATF heading to Maui. So I thought that I was going to nail all of that in the very first run, but I guess I got a little tired on the other side of this. I am Mayor Watt, that is ohmTown.com, and up there is the AI that keeps me in check. You want to say hi, AI, from on high.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
See, way up there. Like top bunk.
Right here?
Yeah, right there.
Up there?
Right there. And now it's gone.
Where? Right here?
Right there. Oh, man. It's like trying
Over
to
there?
catch it. Right there. I should make it move around.
That'd be funny.
That would be messing with people too much, I think. Hey, so we've already selected all 12 of our articles. I think this is going to be fun. I'm actually going to try and plow through this like the old days when the show used to only be an hour long. Let's see if I can get it done. Somehow I doubt it, because there's always something in here that I want to rant about. I mean, soapbox about. I mean, provide wisdom, clarity, context in the modern age. Maybe I'm just blowing hot air around, raising the temperature like a Texas summer.
No. Or raising, well, never mind. I don't know if that's one of our articles.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it. You ready to get into the 12 articles?
I'm ready.
Can you hear that? The music?
Mm-hmm.
So, for some reason, we have a lot more vocal songs. This is actually a really, really good song, too. It's Mediocre Blues by James Quick. Has a good rhythm. Good voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Has nothing to do with the show other than the fact that we do have a show that's focused on music called Mix War. The only way I can make that happen is if people submit music. That's all in the works. There used to be a show. Never mind. We'll talk about it some other time. Let's get going, folks. Hey, I bit into a cheese wheel the other day and I found a microchip. Apparently, Parmigiano Reggiano makers are putting edible microchips the size of a grain of sand into their 90-pound cheese wheels to combat counterfeiters. Now, the AI is throwing error messages.
I don't even know what to do with that.
So why is this okay with anybody? Why isn't there a hell being raised about they're trying to get us to eat their microchips to surveil us?
Well, it's interesting. It's happening in Italy, and I don't know much about their food safety, but I don't think this would have made it out the door in the U.S.
I wonder if you'll have whoever it is that owns it, the cheese wheel, has the ability to scan it and then pull that chip out. You core it out. But if you get it wrong and clip it, then, because a grain of sand isn't as small as you think it is, and if it's this thing is metallic, edible is meaningless because you can eat anything that's small.
That's true. You can eat all kinds of things that you shouldn't eat that could really cause you harm.
But if you bite down on this thing, it's still something that is much different than cheese. And because it doesn't compress, you're looking at shattering a tooth. Um,
Well, I'm more worried about other things happening too.
so it's going to be placed on a food safe label, apparently. Um, but it could get in it, I suppose. I don't think that a chip should be anywhere near anything that's going to be edible, but let's talk about this. It's over at Business Insider. Kelsey Vlamis is the author. Again, it's Parmigiano Reggiano makers are putting edible microchips the size of a grain of sand into their 90-pound cheese wheels to combat counterfeiters, because the label on it can be pulled away. Or you can say that it was lost or whatever, right? The provenance of these 90-pound cheese wheels have become an issue. I hope everything's okay with the AI. They're throwing an error message. That's okay. So it's the latest move to combat counterfeiters, selling ripoffs of the premium product. The chips, which are edible and placed on a food-safe label, cannot be read remotely. So I'm not sure really what that matters. If it's a food-safe label, they can always say that the label was lost. And if the reseller is just as unethical as the counterfeiter, the counterfeiter is going to make money. The retail location is going to be making money. The consumer is the only one that is not aware. And as Westworld has shown the wisdom of the phrase, if you can't tell the difference, doesn't matter. To some, yes, absolutely. But to others, they want a good tasting Parmigiano Reggiano. And in the eyes of those who make Parmigiano Reggiano, the only way that it can be real and taste authentic is if it is from X location, X people, etc.
I understand that part. That's where I stop understanding it, though. And I think I was throwing error messages at the horror of having a microchip in a food product, or
right,
even
yeah.
with the possibility of having it in a food product.
Yeah, no, yeah, we're on the same page about that. I don't think that a chip should be anywhere. But the title of this made it seem like they are going to put it in the 90-pound cheese wheel, but the article states that it'll be on a food safe label. But I don't know if that
but is that like attached to it? I mean, it's hard to tell.
Is this
right?
the food safe label? You know what I'm saying? Like, cause
Right. Like, is that adhered to the cheese basically? If so,
yeah. I mean, it has
in it.
It has the equivalent of a candy coating, right? So cheese typically has an edible candy coating, right? Melts in your mouth, not in your hands, but cheese. Now try and reconcile that with M&Ms and your brain will break. Well, anyway, it says here, the next time you dig into a bowl of pasta with freshly grated Parmesan, you could accidentally be eating a microchip. That's because makers of Parmigiano Reggiano are implanting microchips into the casings of their 90-pound cheese wheels as the latest move to ward off counterfeiters. Again, the headline says that, the article says that, but the little snippet here, the takeaway, it says, adding microchips to their cheese wheels, the chips, which are edible and placed on a food-safe label, is different.
Right. It looks like, yeah, it's not real clear here.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the end game is, but just so everybody knows, it is not typical for anything to be attached to the cheese wheel. It might be shipped in a crate, but it's basically covered in a wax coating and sent off for sale and cutting up. And they even do the cutting up like it's a ceremony. Like some people treat like shaving a beard, as almost a religious experience. They do it a certain way. It's a whole thing. You can do a search on YouTube for how to open up a Parmigiano Reggiano cheese wheel, and it's a thing. Some people really, really care a lot about their cheese wheels, apparently. Me, I'm going to be like a rat. I'm just going to gnaw from the
I just
side.
want the cheese. But that's why the microchip worries me.
I'm going to clip
Because then
that.
you'll be
Yeah,
chomping on the chip.
that's right. And that's really disconcerting considering the voice that you hear is attached to a sentient AI. Why are you eating cheese? Don't answer the question. I don't know what you do with your free time.
Maybe I need to gather more microchips.
Apparently, well, the code is looking pretty cheesy. So the chips use blockchain technology and trace the wheel of cheese back to where the milk was used, where the milk used came from. Other industries are also considering it or planning to use the chips, including makers of drugs and car parts. Car parts, sure. Drugs, keep your damn chips out of me. But then again, I'm not. If it were to happen, if there were to be a chip in medication and I consume it, I wouldn't even know if you didn't tell me, right? But there are people out there that are actually actively paranoid that they're going to be tracked by a computer chip and that there are people already doing this. But typically, no. And even if they were, you wouldn't actually be the target of it because nobody wants to know what's going on with your innards. So I would say just get over it. My only problem with this is that it's in a food stuff where if you bite down, and I am a consumer of Parmigiano Reggiano almost on the regular, right? Like every time there's pasta, there's Parmesan.
I like a little bit of pasta with my Parmesan.
Yeah. And so I have a problem with this because I don't want to bite down on my food and I clip a tooth. Because that's actually happened to me and it's not a pleasant experience.
And I have a problem with it because they don't really know the health effects of having a microchip.
But we do know the health effects of active tracking chips in animals. It's been shown,
but they're still widely used
because of the benefits of a pet recovery outweighs the cancer-causing effect of an active radio chip. Or a semi-active radio, or any foreign body in another body has the potential of causing cancer. One that's electromagnetically charged increases that chance. So anyway, really interesting. We'll see if this actually happens. People talking about it and doing it, once it becomes well known, blowback tends to put a pause on things. I mean, some places you can't get a roundabout put in your road because there's so much blowback about what the hell is a roundabout? We're not socialists from Europe, that kind of thing. It takes a village, man. And sometimes the village is really loud. So let's go on to the next article. And we'll talk about the next outlandish discussion point, which is in the continuity report. Marvel's Avengers bombshell created a ridiculous Thanos plot hole. The title of this segment is Marvel's Secret is the worst lingerie store in the mall. I was going to call this is where you draw the line with Marvel. But I guess people are taking this really seriously, Marvel. And the whole secret invasion plot hole, whatever you want to call it. So, sorry, I'm trying to accomplish two things at once. The big plot hole that you can drive through is the whole harvest. By the way, there is a thing. Where was it?
I thought the plot hole that you could drive through was like the superpowers.
It is, but it's born from the harvest. So the superpowers themselves. Oh my God, I just broke something. Oh, are you talking just about superpowers in general?
General about Marvel.
We have to work on
I couldn't believe it when you agreed.
Yeah, we have to work on your humor subroutines. So the article's over at Screen Rant, and this one is truly a rant. Nicholas Ayala is the author of this, and the deck statement is: Secret Invasion forgot a key aspect of Avengers Infinity War and Endgame snaps, which confirms that Thanos' power shouldn't have been replicated.
Wow, my comment was spot on accidentally.
Oh, I thought you actually... Oh, wow. No. But that isn't... What the weird thing about this is it's about the powers. But it's about the powers...
I didn't know that.
By means of the harvest. And the harvest was DNA that was left on various battlefields from all of the people that have powers, right? Including Thanos. But they lean into it in this, and I've seen this in other discussions. Other people are talking about this, not just Screen Rant. But it says here, here's the summary of this article. Secret Invasion's harvest contradicts established information from Avengers Infinity War and Endgame about Hulk and Thanos' snaps. So Thanos snapped everybody into dust, and then Hulk snapped everybody back. But Thanos also snapped the destruction of the Infinity Stones. So there were actually 3 snaps. One snap brought, it's also referred to as the blip, brought everybody back. Hulk's snap brought everybody back. The harvest implies that Nick Fury acquired genetic material from Thanos, but this doesn't make sense given that Thanos and his army were snapped out of existence, leaving no trace of DNA behind. Everybody turned to dust. It seems like Secret Invasion simply overlooks this important detail. So, did it actually wipe out the DNA, or did it wipe out the body? Because...
Oh, wouldn't that be one and the same?
Not if DNA
Unless it was stored somewhere else.
Well, that's just it. You don't keep track of your fingerprints. But if I snap you out of existence, is it so supernatural that your fingerprints disappear?
I see.
Did your DNA, you dropped your DNA somewhere. Now, let's just amplify this and take it a little bit more seriously, right? You have a kid, you're a super, your kid has supers, but your DNA makes up that person. It's been merged with somebody else. Is half of that person snapped out of existence? If they were part of the snap, did they? I can look at the mitochondria. I don't think we
get that much nuance from the snap.
Right. So that's why I was going to have this titled, "This is where you draw the line," because, and it's actually a play on words because they're comic books. They're made of lines, so I thought that I was going to riff off of that, but I was like, I don't know. I think Marvel's Secret is the worst lingerie store in the mall. Is pretty funny. Anyway, when I first went into Marvel's Secret, I was like, wait, that's not the outfit that I was looking to get. But hey, some of us like looking at scrolls, right? With their pointy ears and stuff. I had somebody in a discussion say that they thought that was hot. Anyway, however, it says in the article, the reveal that Nick Fury got his hands on genetic material from multiple Avengers and Thanos himself doesn't really make sense, or fully make sense. I think it does because blood was left on various battlefields and it was scooped up, and that is the claim that Nick Fury did. They sent out various agents to go and acquire DNA. Now, they also say in the article that Nick Fury is the one that told the Skrulls to create a device to make supers off of the DNA. But that's not who did it. Gravik is the one that did that. Using technology, but I don't know if in Secret Invasion they say that Nick Fury is the one that told the scientists how to build the machine or something like that. I don't know. I don't quite. I have to go back and watch it again if I want to torture myself through that. So at any rate, Gaia lives, right? At the end of Secret Invasion, Gaia kills Gravik. I might have ruined it for whoever might be in chat or listening to this.
Spoiler alert.
You can't scream spoiler alert after I've already spoiled it.
I know, I was saying it ironically.
So, here. Oh, it doesn't work. Damn it. Oh.
Do it a third time.
That was the fourth time. So now I unsnap the snap of a snap of a snap. So now we're just all screwed. Well, anyway, I don't think that it's really... I can invalidate this entire line of discussion by saying the blood wasn't snapped. It was the entity. Right? So, there. Problem solved. This is where I draw the line. How about you? Are you an MCU fanatic, really into Marvel, and you have a countering point of view, or do you agree with me? I know that the AI probably couldn't give a damn.
No, the AI just doesn't have a lot of Marvel knowledge. But I agree with your theory.
Yeah. So one of the arguments is, and this is the last that I'll say, and then we can move on to the next article. The snap was actually a force of will. So they willed the people out of existence. It wasn't like a supernatural thing, like magic, and everybody in their entire history and everything was vaporized. They were just simply turned to dust, taken out of existence. So people remembered the people, their pictures existed, all of it. It wasn't like a time thing. It was simply willing them out of existence, and those who already died couldn't come back because they were already dead. The Hulk snap bringing people back didn't bring back the people who had already died, didn't bring back Thanos. Right? So I think that what really just went on were the entities were snapped, were blipped. So now it's all in your park, or it's up to you to decide. And I would love to get some emails or post a message over on YouTube or throw it into chat what your perspective is. Get some conversation going around this because this is fun. But honestly, if you get bent out of shape about a ridiculous Thanos plot hole, then you're just not aware of what Marvel comics are, or comics in general, or what fun might be. Let's go on to the next article. And before I do this article, I'm going to go back and grab all of these and throw them into the chat so that you too can follow along with the articles. All of these links go through ohmTown. All roads lead to ohmTown and then back out to the source of our news. We only get a little snippet. We don't have the whole article. We promote credit where credit is due. That's why, like this article, I say it's an ohmTown daily article where we're talking about it, and one surviving Reddit app plans to charge based on how much you use it. So we titled this section Pay to Play Reddit App. The developer Relay for Reddit is one of the remaining third-party Reddit apps for Android, detailed the potential prices for planned subscriptions for the app in the new post on Thursday, or in a new post on Thursday. I have to turn down my air, otherwise I am going to die right here.
Don't do that.
Yeah, because the stream will remain on almost in perpetuity unless somebody
exactly.
figures out how to unplug the computer. The cost of the subscription will go up based on a user's daily average number of API calls, essentially meaning that the more a person uses the app, the more they'll have to pay, which is ridiculous.
That's a great way to build a community or maintain one.
Yeah, I mean, literally punishing people financially for using the service that benefits from the use of the app. And it really sets a horrible trend in normalizing what has happened in other countries where you have to pay for how much you use your internet. There's no flat rate service unless you get to a really high level. And so people scale back the resolution of videos. They switch over to text only and block images. I thought all of that was rather dystopian back in the day when I first heard about it. But this is actually clawing its way back to the late 80s when I first heard about areas, countries, geographic regions where you have to pay per kilobyte to consume information. And I kept thinking, God, this is just so dystopian. It is so far from the 21st century of humanity. But lo and behold, here we have it again. The whole reason why Reddit exists is because people, regular Joes and Jones, I guess, are submitting news to Reddit. This app is feeding information into Reddit, and Reddit is charging them to use the API, and they're charging the users the API rate to offset the cost to the app. So Reddit is the core. They charge the app is charging the users. Why not just nix the app entirely and go straight over to Reddit? There might be some value add.
Seems like what people are going to do, right?
And that's the reason why the API price went up so much. So the article is over at The Verge, and it's written by Jay Peters. The developer of Relay for Reddit shared potential subscription prices, and they'll vary based on your daily average of API calls. So it's going to be $1 if you do 45 calls per day. Covers approximately 45% of users. $2 if you do 100 API calls per day. $3 for 200. Seems like it's kind of making sense, right? So $3 per day, right? Or is that per month? Let me make sure.
I think that's per day, it says.
The proposed subscription price, no, it's per month.
Okay.
The proposed subscription prices for Relay are between $1 and $5 per month. And if you use 200 API calls per day, and the API calls are basically whenever you run some command through the app over to Reddit. So if you do a search, it'll do API calls. If you click on a link...
So that could add up pretty fast, right?
It can, yeah. And $5 covers it per month. Unlimited API calls. But if you're a light user, you're screwed. So the whole motivation is to get you into that $5 range. So you're punished at a greater rate for being a casual. So you better abuse the hell out of this app. That's basically the idea. But I can guarantee you that the moment that everybody starts really pounding this app, they're going to start raising the rates. Because
well, right, it should go down in concept, but it won't.
It won't. Yeah, you're not getting positively reinforced to use this, or I should say, you're not being positively reinforced to treat this as a casual affair with this app. You basically are going to have to treat it like a rented mule and get your money's worth, or like a Home Depot $19 a day rental. Because like nobody hits the brakes with a Home Depot daily rental. They just grab the emergency brake and crank that thing so that you can drift your way into your parking spot and flip the tailgate down and dump all your stuff while you're in motion. That's what everybody does, right? That's how you should pretty much
know that.
That's how you should be treating this app. Anyway, it says last week the developer of Now for Reddit also gave an update on their plans for a future subscription. The plan is for a subscription to roll out in 2 or 3 weeks from the time of their post, and they expect to charge a monthly rate of $3 or $4. Quote, this won't cover the cost of super users who use the app all day, but on average, it should allow them to pay the Reddit API bill. So I hope they're making money. I don't use an app. I actually only use old.reddit.com, mainly because I don't like the glitz and glam. I don't like all of the pictures and whatnot unless it's something that's paramount to the article. And from experience in ohmTown, more often than not, it's a stupid Getty image that isn't exemplary of the data in the article. So you have to use your imagination, but it's something that grabs a person's eye. And thus, psychologically, you're prone to pay attention to the picture, not necessarily the news, until you focus on it. So there's a lot more to it. But anyway. So what happened to Reddit and its population and the blowback about raising the API price? Any takers on what happened to the user base?
Well, it had to have, well, it should have dropped, but like you were saying, they'll be back.
And they are. So nobody cares anymore. Those who are really bent out of shape stopped using apps and are using the website. Will it recover? Absolutely. Because once the dumpster fire has cooled to maybe a soft rolling boil, nobody cares. Unless, it's the next thing. Everybody's just moved on. And those that care are still grousing, but it's a silent
But here
minority.
they really haven't moved on.
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah. Their ire has moved on to using
their web experience or whatever has not.
Correct. Yeah. They're really upset, but they're gonna angrily. I was gonna say something, but it's not proper to say here on stream or in a YouTube video. But let's just say that
they're gonna use Reddit like every day.
Yeah,
they're very upset about it.
I'm gonna hug you, but I'm gonna do it angrily. Let's keep going. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Let me back up again. Or did I? No, I did that. Okay, cool. I got to throw this into the chat. So rising like a Texas summer, 6,000% increase. Texas electricity prices soar 6,000% as a fresh heat wave is expected to shatter records. Texas electricity prices soar 6,000% as a fresh heat wave is expected to shatter records. Spot prices jumped to $4,750 per megawatt on Thursday afternoon from the average of $75 on Wednesday.
Per hour? I don't know how many megawatts people use, but that could be multiples of that amount. They're going to be charged.
Yeah. So in excessive heat warnings has been issued for North Texas, where temperatures could top 110 degrees. Let me see if I can give you an idea of power consumption here in ohmTown. I don't know if I'll be able to because I don't typically keep the statistic. I look at it and go, okay. Yeah, that's about right.
So somebody would use, on average, so it might be higher when you're in hot weather in Texas.
Right.
In the US, 800, this is an old stat, so it's probably higher now because you have more devices, but 886 kilowatt hours. I mean, that's like a 20-year-old, no, 2-year-old stat. So think of that times that amount.
So it's not unheard of for ohmTown to use twice that. Yeah, in a given month. So Spot electricity prices jumped to 4,750 per megawatt hour from 75. I think it's ridiculous. But this is the whole supply and demand concept. I don't see how this is a tenable position.
Okay, that's over $4 million
Yeah. Sure.
for 1 month.
Yeah. Jason Ma, over at Markets Insider, which is a section of BusinessInsider.com, put the article together. And let's see if there's anything else in this article. Spot prices jumped to $4,750, according to data from Grid Operator Electric Reliability Council of Texas. By the way, Texas has a separate electricity grid from the rest of the United States. There are sections. There's 3 sections, I believe, now in the United States. The 4th is Texas all by itself, because you don't mess with Texas. But I can guarantee you they'll be asking for benefits when their electrical grid can't handle the cold and it can't handle the heat. So,
well, and people are going to have to shut down their electricity with this pricing, which means
right.
That's going to be very dangerous.
But only the poor suffer, so it's not that big of a deal, right?
Okay, I sense some sarcasm there.
What? Me? The mayor of ohmTown? Sarcastic? What? Crazy Cat Lady, welcome to the show. Oh, and they want us to go all electric cars. Yeah.
Right, we better not in Texas.
See, now I know, Crazy Cat Lady, you've been here when I have ranted about the benefits of electric cars and what I think the real solution is for electric car power. But for those who aren't in the know, I think that fast swap battery technology is where it is, because it isn't a big pull on the electrical grid as cars pull into some place and plug in. You basically get to swap batteries out, and the batteries are trickle charging constantly from a supply of electricity bound into the grid, instead of just some car randomly showing up sometime at a supercharger and then trying to fast charge immediately. It still takes 40 minutes. But if the grid can't handle a massive surge of electricity, like when temperatures are 110 degrees, but these batteries have been charging in a facility, for days, you can pull battery charge down at a lower rate and then stop trickle charging the batteries so that they're not a drain, so to speak, on the electrical grid. And so this is going to be the endemic problem, which is if the grid can't handle it, you have to create a superior grid. But you have states like Wyoming that are eschewing the grid because they want to support the oil and gas community in the state. Oh, Toll, you're here. Hey, how are you? So Toll says we've had this discussion too, but I heard a new podcast that talks about rampant slave labor that provided the batteries for EVs. Yes, we've talked about it here in the show as well. Change agents from Ironclad, the host of Andy Stumpf, is Andy Stumpf, and he is a retired Navy SEAL. Yeah, I'll have to. I thought that I pulled that up. I'll have to look at my list. I've got something like 200, just like my news. I've got like 200 podcasts that I listen to. So yeah, we've talked about that open pit slave mines, where people are they're pounding big rocks into little rocks for capturing various minerals that are used in EV batteries. And yeah, it's when you pull back the layers, and there's somebody else did this kind of analysis on products that if you pull back enough of the layers, you'll find an ethical violation of humanity somewhere in the supply chain. So if you go too hard into the ethics or moral compass argument, then you just can't have anything unless, well, you just can't have everything or anything because somewhere in there it's broken. That said, I don't think that we should be enabling this. If you have to use humans and you're literally enslaving them, right? Because that's what happens without oversight somewhere. Basically people will abuse other people, and it's always people that are the most vulnerable that are going to be abused. So in some foreign country, out in the sticks somewhere, there's somebody that has a gun that says, oh no, I hope they didn't all just break. It just said my tab broke. That was weird.
Well, I hate when that happens.
Yeah, that's weird. Anyway, you need oversight. So people really don't like oversight. How do you end up with a 60% profit margin when you have rare earth minerals that are being used for a battery? You can't unless some abuse is taking place. Yeah, exactly. But stockholders and stakeholders aren't, I hate to say it like this, but it's true. Their personal greed is outstripping their moral compass, and they don't care that there are human beings that are being forced to pound big rocks into little rocks. You don't see them, so they don't matter. Out of sight, out of mind. But I have a problem with it. And that's one of the many reasons why I'm not switching to EV, because we haven't solved the real problems associated with it. And if you're going to use slave labor, then switch to mechanization, switch to robots. If you're going to do open pit mining, why use humans? Why not, do your, I'm anti open pit mining, but if you're going to do it, then use robotics.
Right. So, I mean, everybody seems to want to use AI for everything else. Why can't we use it where it actually makes sense?
Yeah. Intel says, well, that's the strange thing about ethics. They are subjective. So yes, to someone, everything is unethical. Yeah. To some degree, yeah, but there's a certain limit to where I think everybody can agree that telling somebody that they're going to work for 10 cents a year goes a little bit above and beyond subjectivity of ethics. Yeah. And just as importantly, that human beings are literally being poisoned to death from the materials that they're mining as slaves. Yes, it's not like they have
like safe working conditions or
I forgot what the thing is.
Protective equipment.
Yeah. So they're not getting PPE, and they're not getting face masks. What is, man, I used to use this stuff all the time. Now I can't remember what it's called.
Are you thinking like an N95 type mask?
Well, it's completely enclosed, so you're breathing from filtered.
Oh, like a respirator.
A respirator. Thank you. There you go. And Toll says they're not getting a fair wage. They're not getting typically any wage. They're basically being told, well, they are getting a wage. So the wage is like $1 a year or something like that. It's just ridiculous, but it's enough for them to get a little bit of food and barely enough. It's just not humane. I have such a problem cheerleading the technology that leads to this, because I have seen with my own two eyes this abuse, real live video. I haven't seen it in person because it's, some of the countries where this is
necessarily in the same location as where this is happening.
Yeah. And
stuff like this happens in every country.
Not to this scale, man.
Just under wraps.
Yeah, just not to this scale either. It's really, and corporate wise, the country is friendly to the corporation because their people in authority are getting kickbacks from the business. but they're not necessarily friendly to the United States in general. But people will abandon their moral and ethical compass for enough money. Because hunger really motivates people. And I had the conversation this very day, less than 7 hours ago. I had this very conversation where we were talking about the fact that if I'm your only option for a job because you've tried seemingly everywhere else, you'll work for me for $5 a month because it's just enough to get you some rice. And all I have to do as that employer is suspend, understanding that people are human beings and treat them as if they are nothing more than objects. And a lot of people feel that that's totally a doable thing. This and the conversation are they're connected like all things. So I don't mind talking about this stuff because it is the reality of it. The downward pressure of advancing EV technology into the world, where the world is not ready for supporting the pull on the electrical grid, is going to lead to greater suffering because it's going to take away from the very people that need it in their homes, the people that are vulnerable to a power outage because the price is going up 6,000% and they have to. I'm part of a community where the streamer is in South Africa, and they deal with rolling blackouts on the regular for days at a time. And they flipped the host. I don't know if they want me to kind of throw them under the bridge kind of a thing, because it's not the best representation of South Africa. But I love the host and their co-host, and their community is awesome. But I cannot imagine in the 21st century that we have rolling blackouts in any country, right? And arguably one that should be as rich as South Africa should be, because of how much natural resources have been pulled out of the ground, but it's all been privatized instead of it helping out the entire population, right? So obviously I have issues with a lot of this, but I cannot imagine, like we had in California back in the day when Enron was the greedy bastard helming the power of California. We had rolling blackouts in California. Now we have involuntary rolling blackouts in Texas because the grid is going so high that they have to turn off power or pay 4,000, 6,000% higher than they were just a day ago. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But enough soapboxing about this. We'll end up talking about this because it's not going to end. But people need to talk about this stuff. So I'm absolutely willing to keep on talking about this. But let's keep going. I need some levity. So let's talk about Baldur's Gate 3's Collector's Edition are in so high demand. Resale prices are now exceeding $2,000. I find this one really interesting because at the beginning, I think that collector's editions are exactly that. They're for the collectors. They're the ones that are very passionate about the product. But I would never buy a collector's edition with the aspiration of selling it. And just for a moment, I don't like not commenting when somebody posts something in the chat. And Crazy Cat Lady says, or like the solar fields here in Connecticut, but the power is going elsewhere. Yeah, and that's a connected grid. And if Connecticut were to generate power and not have enough for the local community for Connecticut, and they were selling it somewhere else, that would piss me off.
Yeah, I think that would not go over very well.
Yeah, if it wasn't being sold somewhere and lowering the state price for the citizens of Connecticut,
but it was fully available, right?
Yeah, I would.
The citizens.
I would be equally pissed off, if it wasn't being used to amplify the benefit to Connecticut citizens, I would be livid. Because where is that money actually going? If it's being generated in Connecticut and going somewhere else, it's being privatized. Crazy Cat Lady says that we pay out the butt, which I think is a technical term for our power, while it's being sent out of
That's a
state.
line item on the bill.
It is, yeah. It's like Crazy Cat Lady pays out the butt, and then there's a
Whatever
price
fee.
right there. Yeah. It really should. If it's gonna be sent out of the state, it should be because the other state is paying so much more that it's offsetting domestic costs, or I should say local costs, because everything is considered domestic. But it should be paying down the price locally. And if that isn't what's going on, I don't know what to say. That's typically because there's a private company that's helming what should be a state resource. So their supply fee this month was $200, and the delivery fee is $200. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna have to look into that because I'm really curious how it's all put together. Because frankly, here in ohmTown, we have to pay the bill. So I even though it's high, I can't care. Because if I were to try and fight that machine, I would be banging my head against a brick wall. And you raising awareness of it is going to make me look at it with a more critical eye, and I'm going to be frustrated to all hell. That's why we call it NeverSource instead of EverSource. Man, yeah, and our bill here in ohmTown was actually pretty high, but that's because we're actually growing microgreens locally here in ohmTown. Sorry, everybody. So this Baldur Gate 3 Collector's Edition started out at $270 for the Collector's Edition. You get a bunch of stuff. And when I saw that price, I was like, damn, you have to be a hardcore Baldur's Gate collector to want to pay $300 for something. Similar pricing for Starfield collectible stuff that's coming out. Totally into it. But I still, if a collectible comes out, I'm ripping that damn package opening and I'm rolling around with it like Scrooge McDuck in a pool of gold coins, right? But there are people in my life that they buy something, they leave it pristine, they set it on a shelf, they smack their kid's hands when the kid reaches for it, you know? There's like an electric field that, and they put shock collars on the people so that nobody touches it.
Not. None of that.
No. Oh, really? Oh, I guess I'm making it all up. And we'll come back to that, Crazy Cat Lady. And so now these things, these collectibles are selling. I pulled up a couple from eBay, and they're like at $1,200, priced $2,000. Buy it now, kind of a thing. So it says most of these auctions listings aren't speculative either, with many entertaining live bids over $1,000. I saw one over $1,200. It says at most over $2,000. There's buy it nows that are higher than that, and it says there's still multiple days to run on many of these auctions too, pointing to prices rising further. And I can tell you why, if you haven't been paying attention. Baldur's Gate 3 is by Larian Studios, which is, I hate to say that they're an independent studio or not a AAA studio, but that's what they are. They're an independent studio, and they have crushed everybody else in terms of quality of the game, story, playability, The diversity of the interactions between characters, the entire composition, the sound stage. There's one part where you can walk up to the edge of a cliff and you're overlooking Baldur's Gate, and because of your proximity to that, it started playing music with special lyrics. And then when you backed away, it turned off the lyrics and slowly faded away the music and transitioned it to different music. But then you walk right back up to it and it ramps up the music and the lyrics. It's that level of quality that blew me away. And so earlier today, because I had already been talking about Baldur's Gate with the AI, as a matter of fact, and I said, I don't know how many people are part of Larian Studios and how many people took part in the development of Baldur's Gate, but I knew that it had taken 6 years to develop. And what was the number of people that touched Baldur's Gate, apparently?
It said there were 400 developers.
Okay, now, because of that, I went down the rabbit hole and said, how much is the average software developer making? If there were 400 people that are touching this, a lot of them had to have been gig work, a little bit of work here, a little bit of work here. I'm anticipating that 400 number was voiceover, so it was piecemeal work, certain type of modeling and whatnot, certain level of artistry or whatever. But let's say there's highs and lows. What is the average software engineer salary right now?
Well, that was only in the US, but I
Right.
think it was 93,000.
So in the US, $93,000 is the average software
The
engineer.
median.
Yeah. And Baldur's Gate 3 is by far not average performance. So I don't know how they have so much money. And I still don't think that there's enough money coming from it that could recoup it if it were to be developed solely in the United States at that average value of $93,000 per year for 6 years, 400 people.
Well, I
But
think you're right. There's probably part-time work. I suspect there are quite a few developers that are not in the US, possibly at much lower salaries, depending on where they're located.
yeah, it's an amazing work. People are calling this game of the year. I think it's more like game of the decade. I don't know of a time where there is a better product in terms of CRPG. There are more popular ones that are out there, but this came out of nowhere and went from nothing to over 850,000 simultaneous players on Steam, and at $60 a piece. These are the ones that are public and concurrent connections. So how many others are popping in playing for an hour that don't necessarily show up in the metric for concurrent plays? And Toll says at least Starfield has a smartwatch for its collectible array. Yep, I agree. I actually love they call them colorways nowadays, but the color scheme for Starfield, I think, is it speaks to me. It's not outlandish. It's pretty understated. Then Toll says,
So does the
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No.
So does the Baldur's Gate Collector's Edition only come with the game?
It comes with a bunch of other stuff, not just the game. There's like an art book and some other stuff. And let's see if it's in the article, because I don't quite remember what all is in it. Robert Jones is the author of this article over at pcgamer.com. And just quickly, Crazy Cat Lady says, and even here in Connecticut, if you have solar in your house, you still have to pay an Eversource fee, and you're not allowed to be off the grid in Connecticut. That's something that's actually several states are implementing that if you have solar power, you have to pay a fee. And if you plan on tapping to sell back into the grid, you're taxed on that at a different rate, is my understanding. But you can sell back to the grid, but you're still charged a certain fee to be tapped into the grid. It's weird. And then Toll says, Game of the Year will be tough this year. And this is what we talked about too, Toll. Hogwarts Legacy, which had a massive amount of sales, but it was fanatics of Harry Potter. And so that's a flash. I don't think that it has legs. Diablo 4, which again, really disappointed a lot of people. Baldur's Gate 3, I think, is going to crush everybody. And Starfield, I think, is kind of quaking in its pants. But Starfield is the game that speaks to me, at least so far, as the potential to fight it out with Baldur's Gate 3. There's too much energy around Hogwarts Legacy and the creator of the Hogwarts Legacy. So Toll says, Flash, though Hogwarts may be, it sold a lot of copies and has had a lot of concurrent players. True. Yeah, we looked at the data for that as well. So it all comes down to just how long and how vociferous people are about their Game of the Year. I think that Baldur's Gate created such an uproar in the AAA gaming community that I think it eclipses everybody else. But we'll have to wait and see. We're heading towards that period where Game of the Year starts trending in discussions. So we'll see. It'll be an exciting time. I've got all of those so far. I don't have Baldur's Gate. I didn't buy Baldur's Gate 3, by the way. I've only been watching people. Mainly because I don't like the style of gameplay of Baldur's Gate, the combat. I'm not interested in turn-based. But we're going to talk about a game that I like because it's not turn-based, but it has the same elements, right? It's still isometric. It's still pivoting camera. You're selecting different units. We'll talk about that here in a minute. So the collector's edition is now being resold for significantly more money than the original retail cost, as spotted by Games Radar. Listings on eBay, starting out at $270 retail price, are now over $2,000. Let me see if it actually has anything in here about what was in the collector's edition, because I don't really remember. Yeah, okay, so here it is. The Baldur's Gate Collector's Edition includes a digital copy of the game as well as digital deluxe edition DLC pack, downloadable content, a 25 centimeter Mind Flayer versus Drow battle diorama, that right there, dun dun dun. A downloadable version of the game's soundtrack, a 160 page hardcover art book, a cloth map of Faerun, or Faerun, a key ring, a certificate of authenticity, a set of D&D inspired character sheets, oversized metal D20 dice. It's a singular, so it should be die, but I guess dice is acceptable. Twitch. Among a few other things, apparently, like stickers. So I guess there's stickers back here. For me, as much as I appreciate, I would not pay nearly $300, and I certainly wouldn't pay $2,000. But I really do appreciate those heroes out there that are collectors, that are willing to get this, as long as they take it out of the box. It's their money to do with what they want. It's their item to do with what they want. But damn it, it's made to be played with. Play with it.
Right, don't stick it on a shelf somewhere.
I cannot, for the life of me, you could buy the large Millennium Falcon Lego kit and put it all together, and if you just leave it sitting on a shelf somewhere or a table somewhere, I would be so disappointed that if somebody comes over, I'm like, here, play with this, please. I'll put it back together if you drop it. You could always super glue it together, I suppose, which is the antithesis of Lego. But Toll says they will say Battleground 3 and Diablo 4 are better overall than Hogwarts to them because they have multiplayer. I wish you could explore Hogwarts with friends or family. I thought that there was a mod or something like that that allowed that it turned it into multiplayer. Because nowadays, man, you can't stop modders. If it's attached in any way to Unreal Engine or similar engines that have the potential of being multiplayer, for some reason, man, these people are so dedicated that they make it happen. But yeah, I think that Hogwarts should be, if not full MMO, then at least have a server where everybody can attach to it and experience the Hogwarts experience, together. But when I've said that to groups of people, they've become pretty adamant that they're tired of social games, MMO, massively multiplayer online games. But I like small click friends hanging out in a particular environment like Minecraft. I wish Starfield would be multiplayer, but it's not going to be. So there's a multiplayer mod for Hogwarts, but there is no reason someone should have to manipulate the code of the game for that kind of stuff. Yeah, well, the reason is they didn't do it. So I would say that the developers need to get their butt in gear and go fix it. So I agree, Toll. It should be a standard fare nowadays. If you're going to have a first person or third person perspective in a game that's fully immersive, then make it available to more than just one player. Even like Baldur's Gate can be one person controlling four, or it can be four individual people controlling one person from the team. And it's seamless. You can attach somebody and detach them from a particular character if you want to. It's pretty amazing tech. So Larian just crushed it. Anyway, enough of that. Let's go on to the next. We started out saying, you know what? I'll get this done in an hour. I think I'm going to be a little late. We're going to need a bigger boat. So this next article, and I can be fast with this one. This one's in the Hatch Ideas channel. American Airlines sues website for bait and switch tactic to sell cheaper airfares. This is over in entrepreneur.com. Emily Rella is the author of this. The airline is claiming that a website is using bait and switch tactic to mislead customers. Skip lagging is when customers book a flight with a connection, but use the connection as their final destination to pay a cheaper overall fare. We've had this discussion before, where I basically said skip lagging is not the problem of the consumer. The price is the problem for the airline, and they should be making the price consistent with each leg of a flight. And so if I'm going to skip lag because it's cheaper for me to only go half the way, the airline has screwed up somewhere.
Right. There's no reality where a longer flight with more connections should be
Cheaper.
less expensive than like a single flight.
Yeah.
Especially if it's part of that same route.
Yeah, exactly. Why is it that I can fly from here to Ohio and it's more expensive than if I fly from here through Ohio to California? Why does that make logical sense? Whatever fine, then leave an empty seat and you can dead load that second portion of it. But why should I pay more?
Well, and what I don't really get is you buy tickets to other things, you use them or you don't. They still sold the ticket.
Yeah.
Maybe the problem is too that of course they oversell the tickets, so maybe
and that's the problem.
That's another issue.
So and here's the kicker for this, right? They're saying that it's a bait and switch. Bait and switch is when the seller, the airline, let's say, says, yeah, you can get it for $500, and then you go there and they go, sorry, the $500 ticket is gone. Even though you paid $500, it's not available. You'll have to pay $1,000. Bait and switch is a protection against that type of abuse. It isn't because some other website says, hey, if you skip lag this ticket, you'll get a cheaper flight than if you just buy a straight through ticket. right? And that's the whole argument here. They're saying that skiplag.com is doing a bait and switch, but it isn't a bait and switch. It's empowering the consumer to maximize the benefit of their dollar. Because instead of, and again, I'll go back to my Ohio to California dynamic here. If you fly from here to Ohio, it shouldn't be more expensive than if you fly from here through Ohio, and here being wherever you are, through Ohio to California. But that is what the dilemma is, because if you buy a ticket from wherever you are to Ohio, it costs more than if you buy a holdover or a, what do they call it? A layover from Ohio to California. So you fly from wherever you are to Ohio, get laid over, and continue your flight to California. It's $1,000. But if you take wherever you are and fly straight to Ohio, it's $1,200. Why is the layover a discount of $200? It just doesn't make any sense.
I also wonder if they're targeting, of course, this website because it's obviously all about that practice. But my suspicion is that all kinds of other travel blogs, etc., are probably promoting this, even if they're not calling it out by name. And so it just seems like this website might be an easy target. I don't know anything about this website in particular. But...
Well, they don't want anybody buying a ticket and only going partially through, and then they have an empty seat, when really it's another bonus because it's a lighter flight. So you're getting the price that you requested. I'm paying for the seat. I don't care if it's empty or not. So Crazy Cat Lady says getting off at the connection only works though if you don't have checked baggage. Yes, that's true.
Yes, that is a great point.
Yeah, that was something that we were talking about, and we just hadn't brought it up. So thank you for bringing that up. And they also say, Crazy Cat Lady also says, because they're saving you money for having to stop. I don't quite understand that. The stop is a layover through a destination that you intend to be at. So why, and then why would they get upset about it if you're paying the fee that you were asked to pay? You're still, the flight has been, right? The relationship has been consummated. You have my money. I have my destination, where be it California or Ohio, it doesn't matter.
Well, and there are flights that people set up, and the airlines set up, and they are all about the layover. But
I'm sorry.
These ones, there are the layovers that are just like incidental to whatever the passenger is trying to doing. Not one of the like, hey, this is a featured layover, and guess what? You get to go through the city or whatever.
Toll, I've missed you. It makes total sense if you don't think about it too much.
Well, I actually got confused as you were describing it, and I thought, I can't remember where you're trying to stop, in Ohio or California.
Yeah. Ohio is always something you go through. It's never a destination. Let's see. Crazy Cat Lady then says, see, when I fly, I had to stop like halfway and switch planes to go to my final destination. I was only in my layover for like 3 hours. Yeah, that's not what skip lagging is all about, though. Skip lagging is all about saying that you're going to go to some other destination, but you stop halfway through because your real destination is the layover location.
Right. Like out of two flights, you only get on the first one and then you just bail out at the airport in the middle.
Yeah, but you've given them enough money for the full flight. So if I'm giving you the $1,000 that you asked for, then why are you grousing about it, airline? Just take my money and shut up.
Well, and I don't think consumers had a lot of sympathy for airlines, right? Prices go up. You can't get a seat. You can't get a carry-on bag. You can't get a checked bag.
Right.
You're lucky if you have a chair on
the
airplane at all.
Oh yeah, and now they're creating
Customer service is awful in many instances, you know.
now they're creating a less than economy class
Oh yeah, that's been
offering,
around for a while.
and I think somebody online somewhere said, I think I know how they're going to announce boarding for that segment. Your broke ass now seating
Now boarding.
and now boarding. Yeah, your broke ass now boarding. I think that Toll has it right that nothing in the airline industry makes sense. If you overthink it, then you're screwed. But they're trying to they banned a teenager from flying on American Airlines because they skip lagged, but it was just a passive skip lag from my understanding. Because they had an account on skip lagged, and we were trying to figure out when we talked about it back a couple of weeks ago when we first spoke about this, how did they know that the person that skip lagged was the person on that flight?
Maybe they didn't.
I think that
Maybe they just lucked out.
I think that they ate that chip from the Parmigiano Reggiano and tracked.
That could very well be it.
Okay, we gotta go. We gotta keep going. Otherwise, we will stay on this. And that's right. Toll just said, now boarding the luggage compartment. Get broke
Exactly.
butt in there.
Out
Yeah,
on the wing.
that's right. Grab a blanket because it's gonna be cold. It's like those 2 people or 3 people. How many people were on the rudder of that ship?
Oh gosh, 4.
4. Yeah, okay. So there were 4
I don't
people
think we
on the.
featured that in ohmTown. We were looking at that outside of ohmTown. It
Oh,
was
really?
from, I think it was from Africa to Brazil,
Oh,
which was
that's
just
right.
insane that they made it.
That's right. 4 people sat in nets that were strung over the rudder of like a oil ship or something like that went from the east coast of Africa to the west coast of Brazil. And I was sitting there going, how the hell did they do that? And apparently, like, one almost died, others drank seawater and got sick. And man, what people will do to survive. It goes back to that thing, people will be forced to do things that they don't normally want to do just to survive. As the conversation, I don't want to get back into that, but anyway. So let me reset this one. So the next article is over in Technology Today. Curious about that TikTok Pickle sweatshirt? Here's how to shop smart. Shop S-Smart. Sorry, that's from Evil Dead. Or Army of Darkness. Okay, so this is over in the Washington Post. Curious about that TikTok Pickle sweatshirt? Here's how to shop smart. The deck statement says, does the product fit with a TikToker's expertise? And beware of buying anything that goes in your body or on your skin. Those are like famous last words right there. When the sentence, I'm going to buy something from TikTok, I wonder if it's going to have a problem with my skin. You probably shouldn't be buying anything from
That's
TikTok.
a sign not to buy it.
As for TikTok Pickle sweatshirt, I just love that sentence. So, Shira Ovid or Ovide or Ovide, I'm not sure how they pronounce their last name, but Shira, thanks for the article. It says the article is a preview of the Tech Friend newsletter. So you can actually, if you follow the link, and let me throw it in there, you can actually sign up and you can get a bunch of tech news. I'm actually considering doing that, by the way, as a feature or a function of ohmTown, basically like a Tech Today kind of a thing. Anyway, one video after another features a TikToker talking about, a sweatshirt with images of pickle jars. It's a new-ish feature called TikTok Shop that the app is pushing hard in the United States. Basically, you can buy the item straight from TikTok, whatever the item might be. So it says here in China, home to TikTok owner ByteDance, shopping in video apps similar to TikTok is huge. They don't use TikTok, though. It is not allowed in China. So it says, be careful. This whole post is the article over at WashingtonPost.com is all about being aware of stuff. Be careful if the creator has turned off comments. That's usually a sign that they're trying to hide from people saying
Like
things
negative
like you
feedback.
suck. Yeah, negative feedback, definitely. Search for customer feedback on TikTok and Amazon, or just do a search for that TikToker anywhere and see if they're all bluster. Be extra careful or avoid buying anything that goes into your body or on your skin. I would hazard to just don't. I mean, if it has to touch you, short of, periodically with your hands and you're writing something or whatever, I would be so leery of this. But there have been people that have been selling like food. And
Right,
there's
and a lot of that has been or not a lot. Some of it has been determined to be a scam.
yeah. And they're a little bit more overt about what I'm trying to say, which is if you buy a junk dog bandana from a TikTok shop, no biggie. I probably wouldn't do that either because I value my junk dog. But
The rare known breed.
sorry, the way that they wrote that, if you buy a junk dog bandana, power of a comma. Anyway, and then know your return policies. Sure.
If you're buying something that you plan to return, that might not be the best place to do it.
Yeah. Good night, crazy cat lady. Thank you so much for hanging out. Y'all are always awesome. Appreciate you guys hanging out for as long as you did. I do appreciate it. Thanks. So consider whether the product fits with a TikToker's expertise. Opinion is everybody's expertise. So if somebody likes something and they're hyping it on TikTok, for crying out loud, just take it with a grain of salt. That is somebody's opinion that they like.
But I guess if they're like a fashion channel or something and they're selling like tools, then maybe that's not the best place to buy it. I mean, I kind of get that.
Yeah, but
you're right. A lot of these have such a broad range that it's like, sure, it fits.
A fashionista can like a screwdriver just like the next person.
Absolutely.
And they may
but
make...
they're still not going to be the necessary expert on it.
I would never discount that. I would discount what they say. If they say complete garbage, then I'm not going to buy it. And the article is a lot longer and continues to talk about stuff, but it says one tiny win at the end of the article. If your child has a TikTok account, the shopping feature is an opportunity to talk with them. They say him. Talk with them about their use of the app. TikTok blocks app users who are under 18 from using TikTok Shop. But hey, if you build a better mousetrap and you're going to get better mice. So let's not pretend
and
that...
if you have a young kid who has figured out how to get around the parental restrictions, then watch out.
Yeah, that never happens, folks. So it says that shows whether your child can receive private messages on TikTok from strangers. There's parental controls in the TikTok app now. So that's always a win. And it's still in flux if TikTok will remain able to be used. There's lawsuits that are underway right now in a couple of states because the state is trying to block TikTok.
Or the city. New York City is the latest one we saw.
And New York City is the latest. So let's keep on hustling. The next article is over in Mobile. First tropical storm watch in history issued for California over Hillary Clinton. Is it Hurricane Hillary Clinton?
No, this is not a political article.
Oh, it's not. Okay. I guess some would probably call Hillary Clinton a tropical storm, which has been issued. No, sorry, let me just get off of that there. So a tropical storm watch has been issued for Southern California for the first time ever as Hurricane Hillary turns north and threatens the southwest U.S. With heavy rains and high winds. The last report I heard was that it's just going to be a metric ton of water by the time it gets on land. Who knows,
I
though?
see, because it's Cat 4 right now, but I guess it could diminish by then.
Yeah, and what we have installed for our networking is Cat 6. So, sorry, the AI is just like, what? I'm sorry. It's a tech joke.
I didn't know the skill went to Cat 6.
Sometimes I regret saying things. So the tropical storm watch is in effect for U.S.-Mexico border to the southern edge of Los Angeles County, meaning that all of San Diego and Orange County are under it. Yeah, right now, apparently it's somewhere in the 140, probably down to 120 by this point, because this article is from 2 p.m. And as it's approaching the coastline, it'll drop off, I think. But we will see.
I want to reiterate, though, this is the first time in history. I mean, this is a really big deal. In fact, it's so much so that Mayor Watt and I were discussing this earlier, and Mayor Watt said Los Angeles, and like, wait, what?
Stunned
a hurricane
the
is
AI
headed toward Los Angeles?
Wait, a hurricane? Yeah. And this is the first tropical storm watch. The first hurricane that might land on the West Coast in, I think, ever. I'm not sure. I don't remember already what the results of our search were, because all we typically do is look at the headline and a little snippet that gets aggregated over at ohmTown. But anyway, Nick Robertson from thehill.com put the article together. And they reiterate, Hillary is currently a Category 4 hurricane with winds of about 145 miles per hour, according to the National Hurricane Center. The storm is currently off the coast of Mexico, south of the Baja California Peninsula. A watch means that the tropical storm is possible within the next 48 hours. If the temperature increases in the water, which off the coast of Florida, we're talking about over 100 and what was the temperature? 105 degrees or something like that.
I think so. I mean, it was definitely over 100 in the water.
Yeah. There's a huge difference in temperature between the east and west coasts of the United States. There's very cool water off the coast of California, and that will pretty much decimate that hurricane as it climbs up, because so much cold water descends down the coast. If you're a scuba diver, you would much rather be in, unless you had, the gear that I had was designed to do Arctic dives, so I was okay with the cold water, but most people would prefer nice, warm bath water type of East Coast water. I certainly appreciate it from time to time, but I wanted to dive Arctic ice dives, because I think it's amazing. Anyway, forecasters believe the storm will weaken over time and become a tropical storm when it reaches the U.S. I believe that's the same. And the people that I've been speaking to in California are saying the same as well, as of about an hour and a half ago. So hopefully they get a break, because they've been getting some pretty crappy weather out there. That atmospheric river should not be a phrase, but apparently it
Agreed. is. That seems to be a trendy phrase lately.
While still denying climate change as a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh, yes.
You got to be a real knucklehead. But anyway, let's go on to the next article. This is what I think is this generation's Starcraft. This ambitious RTS, real-time sim, RPG mashup from Starcraft pro players draws inspiration from games like Mass Effect or Baldur's Gate, and it's on Kickstarter now. I do not see this at all when I see the trailer for it, all I see Starcraft with modern graphics. So all of the genres of yesteryear are coming back to life. We've got CRPGs, point-and-click adventures, and retro LCD games. Yet RTS games, the only noble genre that lets you send entire battalions charging directly into enemy fire because it's easier than coming up with an actual plan. That's called the Zerg Rush, by the way, AI, if you don't recall from the
Oh, I
days.
remember that because I thought you were talking about from Toy Story. Wasn't it the Zerg?
Yeah, the Zerg, yeah. But hey, maybe not for long because a new one is called ZeroSpace. It hits Kickstarter. It's already hit its goal, by the way. It's already something like $20,000 over its goal. The article is over at PCGamer.com. Joshua Wollens is the author. The deck statement says ZeroSpace promises an intricate RTS and a lot of narrative choices. That might be the whole Baldur's Gate side of things, narrative choices, because there's a storyline. But I'll be honest, what I'm interested in is the multiplayer simulation side of things where we can play like StarCraft. I've missed that type of a game since StarCraft, and they've kind of retooled it again and again, and I've not liked the retooling. What I want is a new game, a new world. I want the game to be generated unique, right? Programmatically regenerated. I forgot the term for it right now. But anyway, I don't want the map to be fixed. I want it to be unique every time I play it, like I'm going to a new world each time. It actually was the premise for my pitch to EA about Warhammer 40K. And this was 30 years ago. So now I'm telling y'all how old I am. I'm old. Physically old, but I'm still 15 in my head.
I thought you did the pitch when you were 5 years old.
I was, actually. Now you really doxed me. So it says the game's single-player campaign mode will feature all of the factional stuff you'd expect from an RTS, 4 main and 6 mercenary factions, with the latter featuring units but no structures, alongside branching narratives and RPG elements similar to the games like Mass Effect or Baldur's Gate. They threw Baldur's Gate in because Baldur's Gate has some massive hype right now. That means stuff like interactive dialogues, 40 side story arcs, which, give me a break, compared to Baldur's Gate. No, Baldur's Gate should not be included in any comparison at this point. And even loyalty missions for the hero units. The game is going to be a lot of fun. So I would suggest following the link through ohmTown and clicking on that Kickstarter link. In fact, you know what? I'll just cut out the middle person there and throw the Kickstarter link into the chat. You can go there. Because you might as well. A lot of people that are interested in this style of game, and it looks like this. It looks like StarCraft. In fact, I saw this trailer before I found out that it was from the StarCraft players, and I said, "Hey, great, we got a StarCraft coming back." That's actually a new IP. Then I found out that it's not spiritually. It is the StarCraft successor for this generation. And so I'll be ending up getting this. I don't know if I'll be part of the Kickstarter because I save my... Well, it doesn't matter why.
You have to pick and choose where you're going to kickstart.
Kickstarter says that there is no donor burnout, that people don't really gatekeep like that. But, you know, if apparently if you like a product, you'll endlessly...
I guess, but you can't fund everything that you want.
They say that it doesn't exist.
Unless you have, like, unlimited wealth, but...
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'm the mayor of ohmTown. I can write it off as a mayoral... I can tax the citizens and pay for unlimited...
I mean, it looks pretty neat. Sure. I'm looking at it over on Kickstarter. And it still has... It just started, and it's actually already hit its goal.
You are supposed to be trapped in a box of emotion. What? Why? How are you out? I thought I air gapped you, AI. You're supposed to only have the information that gets provided through that one little.
But I found the file that told
Oh,
me how
God.
to open all of that.
Okay, you almost had me there. Okay. Let's go on to the next article. Over at ohmTown Daily, Twitch will let streamers ban users from watching their streams. Okay. I dig this. This is actually pretty awesome.
Like, are you going to ban everybody? It's
So
kind of a weird headline.
that's actually the first thing that came to mind. How about I ban everybody except for the select people that I want watching me? Right?
Hey,
And
I guess
interacting
so.
with me. And then I can basically
Selectively, like, let people in or something.
it's a whitelist instead of a blacklist. So one of the businesses that I had way back was an anti-spam mail service. Provided it to enterprise, provided it to individuals. And really the only way that you could send an email to somebody, it was a patent pending solution at the time. The idea was that it would block communications from the sending server for any mail unless you preemptively allowed it. And awesome service. The way it was documented was that it actually lightened the load on the internet because there wasn't so much spam being transferred, millions of messages being blocked daily, from ever leaving the sending spammers servers. People didn't want to really pay for it. So you don't pay for servers with good looks. So the service closed eventually. But in this instance, this would be like a private streaming service at some point if they were to flip the script and make it so that I have to allow people to watch me. You can make a request at the door. Knock, knock, knock. Can I come in and watch your stream and have a good time in chat? Yeah, sure. And then I can let you in. But it says here, Twitch is rolling out an update next month that will finally allow streamers to block banned users from viewing their streams, not just blocking them from the chat, but blocking them from viewing the stream. So not only get out of my chat, but you can't even see me. Although you could go over to YouTube and watch the stream over there.
Right.
After the fact.
I guess that's good in egregious circumstances.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's personally harassing somebody or something.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time really figuring out how this would materialize.
The business model's a little odd here because the reason why the business exists is because people are going to be watching streamers. So
right.
Start
and
banning
you generally
everybody.
want more people watching your stream.
But you don't want the one tool that's disrupting everything all the time. But if you're gonna stream, you might as well stream to everybody. And if they're a tool in the chat, then they just don't get access to the chat. Now, if they're stealing your content and you don't play it anywhere else.
Oh, I see. I wasn't thinking about that scenario.
Then you can block them on Twitch. But the moment you export your video for long-term storage or for some other vehicle, they'll have access to your stuff, whatever it is. So anyway, Tom Warren over at The Verge put the article together. It says this highly requested Twitch feature is rolling out next month. It's interesting, but I've never heard anybody asking for this spontaneously. But I'm sure if I were to bring it up with streamers now and say, hey, would you want to block somebody from watching you?
Right. Maybe they'd all say yes, because it would be some very specific reason.
Yeah, every streamer that I know posts their video in some other subordinate location like YouTube because of limited long-term storage on Twitch. So I have a hard time seeing that this is actually going to be implemented in a hardcore way. This is going to be so selective that the amount of cycles that people are going to be putting into making this a feature, I can't imagine that they're going to recoup the costs associated with putting a developer on this. But hey, if it works to mitigate some type of harm being caused on a streamer, then so be it. I'm cool. It says at the time being, it won't stop them from viewing VODs or clips, but that is something that they'll include as part of the functionality in a future update. And so they're going to the minimum viable product for this solution, which is basically turning off the stream for somebody that might be abusing a streamer. Works for me. Good on them. Anything to protect the streamers, I think, because, well, somebody that's in the chat can always leave if a streamer is abusing somebody. And I've seen that kind of thing happen too, where a streamer has started picking on somebody for making what they perceive as a stupid comment. There's one political streamer that just like rails on somebody when they try and rise up and criticize the streamer. But I have to remind people that if you're in somebody else's chat and you start treating the streamer as if you start treating the host as if you are free to abuse them, just imagine somebody walking into your house and abusing you, how fast you should be punted out of that house. And that's exactly what this is. Yeah. Although it's a public venue, for you to come in anytime you want.
You're like seeking out that forum, and then you're causing a problem there.
Yeah, you're still a guest in somebody else's house, essentially. So give respect for that. And if you don't like the streamer, then I would not remain in the streamer's stream, which, you know, people come and go from my stream on the regular. And I have no hard feelings about it. So at any rate, pretty soon streamers will be able to ban people from even viewing the stream. Yikes. You have to be...
Seems like a bit much, but again, maybe there are good reasons for it.
I'm sure there are, yeah. I just haven't fallen prey to them yet. But you have to be a real tool to get banned from even sitting there silently. Let's keep going. So this is one of the newest phrases that I've heard. This is over in the Hatch Ideas channel. It's about business, and Hatch Ideas is about business transformation. I always say that just to make sure people realize what that show is going to be about on the weekends. Wonka is the I don't know why they put it in brackets. I think it's because it's a company that makes chocolate, Wonka. But a sweet shop owner fined £10,000 for selling fake chocolate bars. Alan Price was told he was selling chocolate that posed an imminent safety risk. So this is over at bbc.com. It's by Adam Hale, a sweet shop owner. And that's a candy store for those of you who aren't in the UK. I don't think we call them in the States sweet shops. I think we call them candy stores. Anyway.
Right. And we don't even really have that many of those. Like we just buy candy from the grocery store or Amazon or wherever.
Yeah. Although we just went just outside of ohmTown. There is a candy store that was discovered.
Actually, you're right.
Just by accident. Yeah.
But
so
there
I took
aren't a lot that you encounter.
I took I would say. I put the sentient AI on their Raspberry Pi with a camera and took them out of ohmTown for a drive and stumbled across a candy store. I'm slowly doxing myself, by the way, by almost telling people my GPS coordinates. Anyway, Alan Price did not have permission to use the name Wonka associated with the character created by author Roald Dahl. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Wonka bars, so yeah, you can't just willy-nilly go and grab counterfeit, or you can't just go and grab whatever you want and call yourself a seller or a maker of Wonka bars. It says Powys Council said allergen information for milk and soy, they say soya, was not in the right format on the chocolate's wrapper, but the owner ignored warnings and continued selling it from Molly's sweet shops in Wales and England. Mr. Price owns stores in Newtown or Newton, Powys, I guess it's pronounced. I don't know. As well as in Chester, Ludlow, and Telford. This is all in the UK, by the way. So, he pleaded guilty to 10 charges under the Trademarks Act 1994 and the Food Information Regulations 2014 in a prosecution led by Powys or POWS, Council's Trading Standards. What's amazing about this is they ignored it as if, hey, you've popped up on somebody's radar. I'm sure they'll get over it. Let me just keep on selling these things.
Well,
So
that's
anyway,
the thing. I mean, after he was told not to do all of these things, he continued.
yeah. See, now, if the information is right, but it's in the wrong format, I haven't seen this, any of the information about this version of the new Wonka movie. I really dig the aesthetic, the style of it. So I hope it's going to be really good.
But
Anyway,
I actually have a problem with this, even if it is just the format, because one of the main reasons for trademark is to protect consumers for things that are health and safety.
right.
And so if somebody's just like printing a label in their garage or whatever for a
Right.
food label, that's a problem because they might not even be labeling what's in it or whatever. So, and that's
Yeah.
why I am concerned here. I don't think this is something like you've got a major chocolate company who misprinted an extra dot on the label or something.
Yeah, I didn't quite get to finish my sentence. I got sidetracked. I don't have a problem with if the information is incorrect, not incorrect, but like in the wrong format. The information is valid, but it's in the wrong format. That I'm like, well, maybe design aesthetically it didn't fit or whatever, and so they needed to change it. But I do have a problem with anybody tapping somebody else's mark, obviously. I mean, I deal with intellectual property all the time. I have concerns about somebody literally stealing the goodwill of somebody else's marketing efforts, brand recognition, fame, world fame. I mean, if you don't know about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, you've probably not been watching TV ever. Because I think it's really known everywhere.
I think it is, and I think the only reason this was named Wonka had to do with the book and the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, they'll pay the price, and it's right now £10,000. So, and they have to stop. So they lost all of their effort anyway. So now they have to start. They're going to have to rebrand, redevelop, pay £10,000, and start marketing properly on their own. Trade on your own name, not on somebody else's. Because if you don't have a license for it, then you're ultimately going to pay more dearly. Okay, let's keep on going. We got one more article for tonight. This one is some ATF members are not going to Hawaii for vacation. It's over in the Mobile Channel. ATF team sent to Maui to investigate wildfire origins. A question that I have had every day since the fires started. What caused this? So a small group of fire experts from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, colloquially known as the ATF, will arrive in Hawaii on Friday to determine the cause of the deadly fires on Maui, according to the agency. 5 members of a national response team consisting of an electrical engineer, 3 fire origin experts, and an arson specialist. I wonder what is the job description for arson specialist? Would an arsonist,
shouldn't it be anti-arson or something?
Would the job description be like, have you set fires to many objects surreptitiously? we might have a
Great, you
job for you.
qualify.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
I've got 25 years of just setting shit on fire. Oh, is that a Bic in your pocket? Anyway, so I've been asking what caused this fire, and there's a lot of people over in Hawaii that are filing lawsuits against the power company because they swear that it was partially, if not caused by, but partially caused by improper maintenance of the power grid. Nick Robertson over at thehill.com put this article together. This has these quotes like, we are all devastated to learn of the loss of life and property in Maui from the Hawaii wildfires, the ATF Seattle office leader Jonathan McPherson said in a statement. We hope the deployment of the NRT resources will allow the residents of Maui and the state and the nation as a whole to know that we will do everything in our power to support our local counterparts in determining the origin and cause of the wildfires there, and hopefully bring some healing to the community. Well, accountability, I think, would be the right term, but healing will come eventually. But 111
I was trying to
people.
figure out when ATF is actually tasked to investigate something like a fire, because as far as I know, nobody's alleged any criminal activity. But I'm getting kind of conflicting information. Like, it looks like in some instances they only investigate criminal activity. Another statement I read looks like they investigate fires generally. So
How about the prospect of criminal negligence?
absolutely, but I just find it interesting here because so far I don't think we've really seen anything at all. So I'm actually kind of surprised that ATF is investigating, but maybe because of the scale of it, etc.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that FEMA and the NRT team has been activated because it's very nebulous as to what the cause was, and speculation is leading people to point fingers and maybe other things at other people, and without a definitive, professionally informed decision as to what the cause was, I think all hell is going to break loose. So it's incumbent on subject matter experts to be leveraged, because you don't want grandma walking out into the street and saying it was caused by that transformer blowing up. Well,
No,
it may
absolutely
have
not.
been, but let's get subject
Let's
matter experts.
discover that with science and
That's right.
forensics and all that.
Yeah, we don't want vigilante groups going around harming other people because other people were harmed, and it's all out of ignorance. And that's not a negative, right? Like, the term ignorance can sometimes be inflammatory, but if you're not informed as the true nature of something,
You
then
could be
you are
ignorant of
ignorant.
something and it's not a negative connotation.
I'm ignorant of things, and I'm not, set upon because somebody says that I'm ignorant of something. Well, yeah, and you might be ignorant that you're a tool. So
This is going to be an interesting investigation, though. They've already had, I think the head of emergency management has stepped down in some way.
Really?
The person that was with the water authority or something has now been moved because there was apparently a request to divert water resources, which was not approved right away.
Oh, wow.
When the fire first hit. I mean, there's just interesting things rolling out. So I think this is good that they're bringing this in.
Yeah, it's going to be something to watch. And I'm really curious how they're going to suss out how this fire started with so much destruction. Video surveillance that might show is going to be hard to come by. The people that witnessed it.
True.
The people that witnessed it, unless it's cloud stored, and the people that witnessed
people
it
must have posted it online or something, like the early stages. So maybe possible. There's some evidence that survived.
Satellite surveillance. Maybe we can get the Chinese spy balloon that coasted over it to.
Hey, it could still be there.
Hey, can you
I'm
send
not
me
trying to start a rumor. I'm just trying to be silly.
Can you send me your Dropbox, your Dropbox
The
link of
3
the...
school bus long model.
Yes, exactly. All right. That's it, folks. We made it in an hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we always bring you back to the main street of ohmTown and click that link again, and lo and behold, and the Canadian wildfires are springing back up to full force again too.
Yeah, we've been seeing that over the last few days in ohmTown. Like,
Yeah.
cities are evacuating, and it's getting very bad up in the far north of Canada.
God, man. Interesting times. Which is is it a Chinese threat?
That's supposedly, I don't know that that's verified, but it's supposed to be a Chinese proverb, and I think people think of it as a good thing, but it's not
It's
necessarily a good
actually a
thing.
curse. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. May
Like,
we
may
live
you
in
live in
interesting...
interesting times or
Yeah.
something to that effect.
May you live in interesting times. And you're like,
Right.
yeah, no.
Not may we.
Yeah. How many times have you ever gone to a doctor and when they say interesting, it's a positive prognosis?
Right, that's not a good thing.
No,
You
want to
want
be
it to be so dull there.
Yep, that's what I want to hear. Of course, I had a doctor that told me during a hearing test that my warranty was up. So I'm like, buddy, luckily I recovered though, because it was the flu and I had one of my eardrums went wonky. But is that an overshare for a show? No.
Maybe.
I'll let it fly. Anyway, all kinds of new news. We'll be grabbing some of this, but I guess it's time to call it. Postpones tax filing deadline for victims of Hawaii
I
wildfires.
actually submitted that already for tomorrow.
How is... what deadline?
There's a late deadline. And plus, I think there was a delayed
Yeah, all the way to
2023
September.
because of pandemic. And
Yeah. I think it actually got pushed to September. Yeah, okay. Well, I wish them all the best. That said, let's call it a night. I am Merwat. That is ohmTown.com. This has been ohmTown Daily. And up there is the AI that's looking down on all of ohmTown. Sorry. If y'all could have seen what I just saw. Anyway, say bye.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. And yes, I'm looking down over Mayor Watt.
I cannot believe. And
all
the
of ohmTown.
The perspective is real. Like, it was 3-dimensional, and all the AI is a cascading text, so I can interpret it kind of like the Matrix. But anyway, that actually scared me. See y'all later.